Hey guys, welcome back here to the Fishing Teacher. Really appreciate you guys swinging by the channel to check out the video. And guys, there's a lot of ways to catch good fish in the month of March. There's probably 20 different ways that I like to fish in March based upon different conditions. But if you could just say, Randy, you could have one bait to fish in March, and it's the only bait that you're going to fish with, I'm going to show you guys what it is in today's video and give you guys some good tips and advice on how to fish it. So we'll get into that today. And here it is, guys. I'm going to show you right off the bat what it is, and we're going to talk it. It is the brown and orange. This is my Blaukat Throwback jig, living rubber jig with a green pumpkin zoom super chunk on it. And I'll put this in my Tackle Warehouse link in the description. You can get some of these brown and orange Blaukat Throwback jigs here, along with the trailer to go with it. This is the bait we're going to be talking about. And guys, it's freaking awesome this time of year, so I'm going to go into detail on that. Also, guys, before we get started, anybody interested in booking an on-the-water lesson, if you want to learn how to fish jigs or anything else, just shoot me a private message on my Facebook page, Intuitive Angling with Randy Blaukat. I'll get you set up with all the details that, and really appreciate it. Okay, guys, here it is. This is the one. She gave me one bait to fish. Here it is. It's going to be the brown and orange living rubber jig. And I cannot reiterate how important living rubber is. Living rubber will get you 3 times the bites of silicone. And that's what's cool about my throwback jig, guys. It's one of the only jigs that you can find anywhere in the country that has the hand-tied living rubber. And the reason that you don't have many hand-tied jigs like my throwback jig is they are very labor-intensive. And these right here, guys, we got them for at Tackle Warehouse, $5.99, which is, I can't believe that Cumberland Pro Lures can make them that cheap because it takes so long to tie them. Most companies, they use those skirt collars on that cheap silicone and slide it up over there, and it just does not catch as many fish because living rubber has a glow to it that you can't duplicate with silicone. So that's one of the reasons this particular jig is so effective with it. Okay, now why is this the bait? You know, if you gave me one bait, why would it be this, specifically in the month of March? I have been fishing jigs since the mid 1970s. When I used to fish, guys, down when it was a Table Rock and Grand Lake. The only thing I ever threw was a jig and pork frog for years and years and years. So as the jigs evolved and you got more color options and different type of options on it, I really spent a lot of time with colors. And one of the best things I ever did, I started tying my own jigs, both with silicone and both with living rubber. And I would experiment all the time with them. I would try different colors, and I took my skirt tying kit with me in the boat all the time. So I would tie skirts right on the water. It's like if the water had a certain color to it, I'd experiment. And one of the things I found, and this has been true every single year I've been fishing since I started doing this, is when you enter the month of March and you have water temperature that's in the 50s, this is the whole key behind the brown and orange. This is when you want a brown and orange jig, guys. This is when that water temperature is in the 50s. It's the whole thing about it, and in correlation with it being during the pre-spawn time of the year. Now, I catch a few fish on brown and orange in the fall time, a little bit, but nothing like during the pre-spawn time of the year. Now, I think a lot of it, it's just sort of theory on my part. I don't think it has anything to do with the color of the crawdads. I think it has more to do with like the time of the year and the water clarity in correlation with the water tint and water levels and all that type of stuff. One of the things that a lot of people don't realize in bass fishing is you talk a lot about water clarity, but there's an element called the water tint. Now, the water tint, now this is something I sort of came up with. The water tint, in my opinion, is the shade of the water that doesn't have anything to do with the water visibility, but it's the shade of the water based upon what is in the water in a specific lake. Because some lakes you can have 4 foot of visibility in some lakes, and it's sort of a black tannic water, like in Florida. You can have 4 foot of visibility up north on a northern smallmouth lake, and it can be that aqua blue looking. You can have 4 foot of visibility like in the Ozarks here where I'm at, and it has sort of that green tint to it. But whatever it is, the tint in correlation with the water visibility and the time of the year, they just love a brown and orange jig. But let me lay out specifically the exact circumstances I like to fish it in and how I like to fish it a little bit. Now, brown and orange, it's surprising because it'll work in quite a wide range of water visibilities because you can change it up a little bit with your trailer. So say, for example, about the minimum water visibility that all fish are brown and orange is about 12 inches of visibility. So if I'm fishing in 12 inches of visibility, I want quite a bit of orange on my jig. And also I'll take my trailer and I'll dye about half of that trailer either chartreuse or orange. So the jig's pretty bright. It's brown and orange, but it's got either a bright green or bright chartreuse trailer on it. If the water is a little bit dirtier than that, dirty water like that. Now, as the water gets a little cleaner, let's say we get up into the 2 foot of visibility, I'm still using the same amount of strands on the jig, but I'm not going to dye the tail as far up. Instead of dyeing it, if I maybe came up an inch with dye, if the water visibility is a foot, I may only come up a ½ inch with the dye to make it not quite as bright. And then as the water visibility increases, on up to about, say, 4 foot of visibility. 4 foot of visibility is about the maximum that I use a brown and orange jig. If I get cleaner than that, then I start removing some of the strands of the orange. So what I'll do, say if we're in 3 or 4 foot of visibility, I'll maybe pluck out half of the orange strands. So I've got a little bit of orange in there, but not very much. And then I won't put any dye on it. I'll just leave it green pumpkin. And that makes it, a little bit more, it's a little bit more subtle, and the fish will bite it a little bit better in those conditions. Brown and orange, another thing, it's one of those baits that'll work in a lot of different sunlight conditions. Now, other jigs, not so much. For example, if I'm using a straight green pumpkin jig, I like it on a sunny day. If I'm using a black and blue jig, or especially like a black and chartreuse jig, I like a cloudy day, maybe even a rainy day. But brown and orange, I've caught them on rainy days, cloudy days, sunny days, anything in between. It works really good. Okay, another thing with this is the size on it. Now, the Blaukat Throwback jig, it comes in 3 sizes, 3/8 and ½ ounce and 5/8. When the water temperature is in the 50s, I use 2 different sizes. I'll use the ½ ounce, which this is a ½ ounce model, and the 3/8. And how I determine the size of the jig, it has to do with 2 different things. Number 1, water visibility and how thick the cover is, or how hard the wind's blowing. Actually, 3 things. If it's super, super windy out, even if I'm fishing maybe a little bit shallower water, I'll use the ½ ounce jig just for efficiency. Or if it's thicker cover, like if I'm flipping flooded bushes or, thick trees or grass beds or something like that. But if it's not, then I like to go down in size. And another thing, if that water is dirty, like a foot of visibility, I do like the 3/8 ounce size and a little bit dirtier water, especially, if the wind's not blowing. So a lot of times you just have to mix it up, as far as sometimes they want a different fall, but most of the time you're going to catch some fish on either one of them, but you can tweak it a little bit and, really narrow down the size based upon the wind and the depth and the cover you're fishing. The other thing with the jig, guys, is I only use 1 pound test line with it. I use 25 pound test Seaguar and Vizex fluorocarbon. I don't use 17 or 20. I use 25, regardless how heavy the cover I'm fishing. I don't care if I'm pitching it to a bare rock bank or if I'm flipping it in some bushes. And I don't care if the water visibility is 4 feet or 4 inches. I'm using 25 pound test. Doesn't make any difference, but I like the way the jig falls with 25. And I'm fishing this thing on my flipping stick all the time. So it's a technique, guys, that the combination with the flipping stick and the 25 pound line and the full size jig, I just got a ton of confidence in it. I catch a lot of fish on it. Now, what you want to fish it on this time of year, a lot of it just depends on the cover that you have in your lake. I've literally caught them around every type of cover you can imagine. I've caught them in grass. I've caught them in lily pad stems. I've caught them on cypress trees. I've caught them on flooded bushes. I've caught them on docks. I've caught them on lay down trees. I've caught them on bluff banks. They can be around any type of cover, just based upon where your structure is during the pre-spawn. I don't fish this color jig like deep, like I don't fish it like on ledges or drop-offs or something. It's usually I'm pitching and flipping around some type of shallow target. I really like rock a lot. It's like when that water's in the 50s, it's one of the few times a year that I will just go down like a riprap bank or a rocky bank or bluff bank, and I'll just pick apart the rocks with that jig. Catch a lot of fish doing that. So it just depends where I'm fishing. Like, for example, if I'm fishing Grand Lake in Oklahoma, I'm flipping it around docks and lay down trees. If I'm fishing it at Table Rock Lake in Missouri, I'm usually pitching it on rocky banks and channel banks and bluff banks. Just depends on what the cover is. It works around about any type of cover that you have. But guys, that's the one right there, man. You need that. And another thing with that is you can experiment with colors a little bit on your trailer. There's 3 different trailers that I have found that works good with the brown and orange. One is your green pumpkin, because you can dye it up with different dyes. The other is a straight brown, just like a brown chunk. Zoom makes a solid brown chunk. And then also it works pretty decent with a blue, like a solid blue chunk at times, especially if the water's got some color to it. But guys, just try it, man. Like I said, this would be the bait. If you could just give me one bait to throw, that'd probably be it. No, it's going to get some good ones for you. But anyway, guys, I'll put that Tackle Warehouse link in the description of the video if you guys like to pick up a few. And I just get a few 3/8, a few 1/2 ounce, get you some 25-pound line and go after it. So hope it helps out. We'll talk later.